Hi, everyone. Welcome to The 60 Project, a podcast produced by Livewire Productions in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is a podcast about navigating our 60s. I'm Tracey Thomas, and I just finished my first film, a featured documentary called My First and Last Film, where I sought out to learn more about turning 60, talking to 60-year-olds, and dealing with the loss of my mother and my filmmaker partner and boyfriend, Dennis Peters. But even when I finished the film, I didn't feel like I was done interviewing people in their 60s. I wanted to learn more about what's next. And this is where the 60 Project begins, a podcast where I ask people about the big ones, about death, dying, love, loss, and about recognizing yourself even better with every passing day. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday, March 25th, 2020. And this is episode number 3 of the 60 Project podcast. What was I going to say? It's a beautiful spring day, actually. And we are doing things a little bit differently today as far as the podcast recording goes, because we are in a pandemic situation and we are all self-isolated, quarantined, whatever term you want to use. Cocooning, I think, is a nicer word. So we're using lovely Zoom, and so you'll be seeing us video and hearing us on audio as well. So hopefully this all goes well, because we'll see how it goes. And I've got my producer standing by in case there's any issues, but she will edit it all later on. So here we are. And I'm your hostess, Tracey. So welcome, everybody. And I have a guest today, Robert, or should I call you Bob?
Yeah, Bob is great.
Okay. Hi, Bob. Bob is a new acquaintance friend that we met. We're kind of Facebook friends a while back, and somehow we just didn't connect. And then we said, let's meet for a cup of coffee. So we did, and we live, like 3 blocks from each other. So
yeah.
When I walk by now, Robert, I wave at your building just in case you're looking out the window.
Okay. I do the same thing when I wave by, but walk by too. But
yeah.
That's about all we can do right now.
That's all we can do. And thank God for this technology, right? I mean, that's kind of a godsend right now. Can you imagine if we were didn't have all this technology and, no cell phones, no internet, and no nothing? I mean, it's pretty crazy. So we're pretty lucky.
Yep, exactly.
And I don't know if I know exactly, let's kind of just dive right into whatever we want to talk about, but I don't know if I know your age exactly.
I am 63.
You are? Okay. And how do you feel about being 63? Is that like, is it good, bad, indifferent? How are you handling it these days?
I am really happy being 63. It is a number, but I am living probably the best part of my life right now.
Wow.
Even though I'm alone here, sitting here, but I think my experiences and not giving up on my passions and still working, which is part of being 63, have really helped me a lot, especially right now in the times that we're in. But yeah, I feel really good about it. I think that I probably have more to give and more to learn, and I'm more excited about life right now than ever before. And I felt that way for probably the last year and a half or so. It's been kind of been kind of a weird feeling, but yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
I kind of agree on that. My life is pretty great right now. And when I was first doing my film, and I did it started doing it 5 years ago. And the reason I did it was because I was feeling a little it just seemed like a big number, but now I think I'm okay with it. And it is just a number, but I think it's what you do with the number as well. It's all the experiences leading up to this number.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But I don't feel fearful, a little fearful right now with the pandemic thing going on, but I don't want to talk about that. We'll talk about that a little bit. But I don't want the whole show to be about that. But I feel pretty lucky in my life, and I have lovely friends, and I've got lots of interests, and so there's that. That helps a lot. I
Yeah,
think.
I agree. Yeah, it's helped me a lot too. And I'm a pretty passionate photographer, so I can do some photography out my window every day here, or go for a walk, and that keeps me occupied, and I can share that with my friends. And I think, a lot of people have asked me why I haven't retired, and I'm really grateful right now that I haven't retired.
Right now,
Um,
especially, right.
Especially, but even before this happened,
Yeah.
I was really grateful that I hadn't. And it was really a way for me to keep my mind busy. And yeah, it's stressful and it's still work, but I work in the technology field, and that's really been good for me. I kind of keep up with things, and it keeps my mind challenged, and I'm a very curious person by nature too. So all of those things, those experiences, and the things that have really kept me going, it's been really, really important. So
Yes, and staying connected with people and
yeah,
some sort of
yeah,
structure, like,
yeah,
somewhere to go every day, or
exactly.
something to, I don't know if you work out of your home, but
I do.
something
Yep.
to, something to do every day. I mean, there's that, because I've been retired
Right.
for an obscenely long amount of time. And it took
Yep.
me a while to get into some kind of a structure and routines. And I
Right.
think, like with what's going on today, a lot of people that are not able to work right now, like everybody, most people, their whole lives are all screwed up because of the structure thing. They have to now kind of figure that out. So, and that takes some doing and some discipline, right?
It does. It
Yeah.
does. And yeah, right. The company I work for, we've worked out of our homes since 1995. So for a period of time here in Milwaukee, we had an office where we could go to and kind of, rent a cube or stay for the day or go for whatever time we needed. But for the last few years, that's been gone now too. So we've been, pretty much homebound workers for a long time. And that's helped me a great deal too. So, again, not talking about the current status too much, but it's prepared me better for this, and able to have some discipline in terms of my life and be able to
Right.
do things, which is really helpful for me,
Yeah.
especially now. Yeah.
Well, and I don't know about you, but let's kind of chat about like living alone and as we get older. I mean,
Right.
that's a plus too. I mean, I don't have a mate and I don't, have a partner, and I know there's a lot of us out there, like you say, pandemic or not. That can be challenging as well. I mean, you have friends and all that and family, but for me, it's just not quite the same. I do pretty well most of the time, but
Yeah.
what do you think? What are your thoughts?
You know, it is different and it is harder, but I also really opened up my aperture about a year ago,
Okay.
in terms of my friend base and what I do and how I do it. And that has really changed how I feel about being alone. I have a lot more people over for dinner. I have kind of a wide range of age and interest friends right now, which has been really helpful for me.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much from people who are millennials or younger that have also kept me alive too. And I found that by sharing my life and life experiences with them, they share their life and life experiences with me, and it's been a great way for me to just kind of meld the two together. And I think it's helped me feel less alone.
Hmm.
It's piqued my interest in things that maybe I hadn't thought about before. And in some ways, it's brought me back to some of my roots, which has been really good. So, yeah, living alone is challenging, and I do find that the chores that I have now, I get up in the morning and think, "Oh, I got all these things to do," and about 10 minutes later, they're all done because it's just me,
That's true.
right?
Right.
Oh man,
Seriously, especially now with the current global situation, it's like, I don't know how much cleaner my house can get. I don't know.
right, right.
But I'm trying not to do it all. I'm trying not to do it all at once, because I think we got time. So I don't need to, like, I'm going to save some of it. Why should I do it all now? I can save some of it. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's
yeah,
that's right.
especially
But I
now.
think, but I think opening up, again, my aperture to a lot of different people has really helped me not feel alone, and it has given me a perspective on maybe some things that maybe I wouldn't have done had I not opened up that aperture a little bit more, especially to people that are age-wise younger than me. And it's really helped me. It's got me out and has done some things for me that I never would have done before. So that's been really good. And that's been probably the biggest thing that I look back at the last couple of years that's really changed how I feel about, as I call season into the next season, if you will, rather than getting old. So
yeah. Well, and I do agree with you on the age thing, as far as surrounding yourself or engaging with younger people. It's like, just as they shouldn't dismiss our age group, the elderly or the seniors, we should not dismiss them as well, because we can all teach each other many things. I think, several years ago, I didn't think that way, but as I kept moving around and doing this film, and it's like, holy smokes, they can sure all teach us a lot too. And really, they're all growing up with technology, so they can surely contribute a lot to teaching us how that all works, and the good and the bad of it, and all that, that kind of thing. Like people developing companies where young and old work together. I mean, what's wrong with that? I don't think anything.
Right.
There's wisdom from both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I found that rather than trying to impart my wisdom on people that are younger than me,
because they don't want to listen anyway.
They don't want to listen, but they do take note, right? Yeah. Of how I live and what I do.
Right.
And I like to think that I set a reasonable example of those things. And because of that, they become more interested in who I am and what I do. And then we start to have bigger and broader conversations, which has been really interesting. So it's kind of been learning through osmosis, if you will, about one another, rather than saying, let me tell you about this that I did in 1978. And they're like, well, they're not interested in that, right? But yeah.
I totally agree. Let's just all embrace each other with that, because we can learn from each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I keep going back to talking about my film, my first and last film, in case anybody wants to know.
Yeah.
Making my film, my whole crew, my all-female crew, are all much like half my age or younger. Yeah. I think my editor was 24 at the time, and my cinematographer, my camera gal, Dana, who I dreamt about last night, which was really weird. She was probably like 24, 25. My producers just turned 30. I mean, so they are very talented, bright, observant young women. So I learned a lot from them. And maybe because it's the field that they're in, they're more observant, or maybe they're just really that smart and that talented, which they are. So it's an eye-opener for sure. So you can't dismiss that. You can't learn anything from any generation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So what's your favorite hobby these days, other than photography? Because do you have some pictures to hold up, some photos?
Oh gosh.
I should have asked you next time.
Next time. Yeah. I've been doing a lot of reading. And that started even before this. So that's something that I've been doing. Been doing some writing, which has been good too. I pretend, it's like anything. You can't say you're not an artist if you don't practice. So I've been trying to do a little drawing, a little watercolor stuff, and so kind of riffing off my photography theme a little bit more. So I've been just trying to experiment with stuff with no expectation of where to lead, other than just to find another avenue to keep my mind stimulated and stay creative.
It sounds like you got your life pretty well set. I mean, and like the rest of us, well, I shouldn't say like the rest of us. Do you feel like a partner is necessary at this age? I mean, many of us have been married, divorced, widowed, widowered, that kind of thing. So do you feel having a mate right now at your age is a necessary thing? Or, I mean, are you okay with not having one? I shouldn't assume you don't have one, but.
No, I don't. And I think about that, and it's a tough question for me right now.
Yeah.
Because there are times, even though I've got a pretty full and rich life, I'm still lonesome, and I would really enjoy having a mate.
Yeah.
but by the same token, and this is probably going to sound a little tough. You know, I've also kind of come into my own, and I don't want to lose that part of me.
I
And
like that.
and maybe that sounds selfish,
No,
but
I don't think it
I
does.
I think I've really, you know, I'm comfortable finally for the first time really with who I am, and what I do, and so I don't want to lose that part of me. And I know that in my past, this is my own. I have given things up of myself to be in a relationship,
Yeah.
and sometimes that's okay. I found that I probably end up giving too much, and then I pay the price for that.
Yeah.
And that the relationship doesn't work. So I'm kind of just trotting along, going, yeah, I'd like to, you know, have somebody to hang with, but I'm pretty dead set on making sure that I stay who I am right now. And if something comes along, that's great. That's perfect.
Yeah. That's kind of
But
how I feel. And I kind of echo your thoughts here that it's kind of like a catch
yeah,
too, because while it would be great to have somebody, and I'm certainly not seeking it out. If it happens, it happens. But
yeah, right,
and
right,
there are the lonely times. But on the other hand, like you say, I've when a person is married or in a relationship, oftentimes you become half of that relationship instead of
right,
retaining your wholeness.
right.
And I agree with you. I don't want to get rid of that wholeness because I feel like it's taken me a long time to get where I am now in a good spot, you know, like you say,
Exactly.
mentally, and I'm accepting of myself and flaws, and I know who I am now, and it feels okay. And someone to come in and kind of snatch that away. But maybe we're smart enough that we wouldn't let that happen.
Yeah, that's what I hope, right? And
Yeah.
I think I do feel a little bit like, as I am today, I feel like I have more to give,
Mhm.
because of just how I'm living my life. I don't mean give in the sense of, it's more of just doing what I do on a normal basis, just being who I am. And I feel like that's of value now, maybe for the first time, just as me
Okay.
being a whole person.
Yeah.
And I like the way that feels.
Because maybe you weren't sure that you didn't like who you were. You weren't in a good space. So giving to somebody would not have worked.
Yeah,
What you're going to give is not going to be 100%
yeah,
authentic and good. And
yeah,
is that what you
yeah.
mean, kind of? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, or I let some of that deteriorate. I mean, certainly isn't intentional,
Right.
but it was just one of those things. But yeah, yeah, that's kind of where I am with the relationship piece of it. It's
Yeah.
getting,
It's challenging at this age, isn't
it
it?
is, it is, it is for sure.
I don't know. I mean, since I've been divorced about almost 18 years,
Yeah, yeah,
sounds like a lifetime ago. And
well,
I've had a couple relationships here and there, and they were
yeah,
great.
yeah,
But it's like, I don't know. I think I'm okay right now without one. I
yeah.
don't know.
I'm too, and I sort of like, uh, you know, I do have a really diverse group of friends,
Can't wait to
and of
meet them.
which, pardon?
I can't wait to meet them.
Yeah, well, you'll meet them once this is over, and I think
Okay.
you're going to fit right in. But I love the whimsiness of a lot of them that I'm not sure would fit into sort of a more defined relationship. It would have to be with the right person.
I see.
Um,
Okay.
so it isn't wild stuff, but I do some really creative photography. I just don't know sometimes what I'm going to get into, and part of that, I'm making it sound a lot more devious than it really is, but part of that is what's keeping me so happy and alive right now, is that I've opened myself up to things that I probably would not have done
Right.
before, and they're maybe a little off the norm, whatever norm is, and I like that, and it's really It's just been fun for me and probably out of character for me. But I'm finding that as I do more of these things, they are more of my character now, and I don't want to.
Right. Maybe that is your character that was suppressed.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
peeling
So
back a layer of the onion here.
how much am I gonna have to pay for this session? Because do you take insurance? This is really great therapy here. So
Well,
you're
like
under,
everything with the pandemic, everything is pretty much free right now. So this one's on
there we
the.
go. Okay, all right. But yeah, I think that's truly what it is I'm finding that things that I might not have done before because I've opened up my life to some interesting people, I'm doing, and I like it, and it's fun. And so far I'm waking up every day feeling good about it. So
That's so awesome. I admire that because I tend to kind of stay in a rut and, just I feel like as I'm getting older, I just don't feel the need to be around a lot of people. When I am around people, I love it, but I tend to go on more solo vacations and kind of be by myself. And maybe which isn't like a bad thing. I'm not like, I'm not, and don't have any paranoias or anxiety or depression issues, but I feel like I'm in a more reflective time of my life, which is, I guess it's not good or bad. It just kind of is. So, and for a while I was thinking, oh, maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know if it is. I mean, I certainly enjoy hanging out with my friends when that happens, but I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, anything that we're doing or any period or where we're at right now, whether it's a reflective period or for me, it's, God, I don't even know what I'd call what I'm doing right now. But I think as long as we're comfortable with it and joyful with it and it fills our soul, then it's right for us. And at least it is for me anyway.
Sure.
And so I try not to put a label on it, good or bad. I try not, if it doesn't feel right, then I just don't do it.
Right.
But I get, and I think we're all in different places with some of those things.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, I like that though. Wherever you are, like the word of the day, acceptance. I mean, especially, especially now, just accept where you are and hope for the best and do what you can, control your own life and control your own feelings. And that's all you can do. I mean, so if you're having a good time, like a friend of mine, Sue, she was on a podcast a couple weeks ago, which is up today. And she said, if it ain't fun, I ain't doing it.
Yeah.
So, and she lives life to the fullest as well. So I have a funny feeling though, when this is all over, I'm going to change my mind and I won't want to be, going inward so much. I think we'll have enough. I think I will have it pretty well figured out. I think there'll be a great balance at the end of all this. That's so great that your life is where it should be.
Yeah, I think so. And, I was going to go to New York in a week, 2 weeks, I don't know, first week of April. And obviously that's off, but I was just going to go alone. I love the city and I love the anonymity of it. And so I get when you're talking about going on vacations alone or kind of doing your own thing. I enjoy that as well too. And big cities are kind of my favorite place to go do that because I can just kind of wander around and, you don't have to worry about fitting in because everybody's so unique, and I don't really worry about that so much anymore anyway. But so there are times I enjoy doing that too. It's fun for a couple of days to go wander around and get lost and have some new experiences.
And people watch and observe and do what you want to do. Like be alone in a really crowded city. I like that. That's a cool concept. I like that.
Yeah.
Huh.
And because of that, I've had some really fun experiences and met some interesting people, and it's been very cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how are you coping with the pandemic? Let's just talk about it for a minute. How are you coping with the pandemic situation? It doesn't sound like you're doing things any differently. I mean, you're keeping busy. I mean, you can't go out and see people and friends and family. Are you doing the same thing we're all doing, is video chatting and clean the house? And, I feel like because we're older, we're in that box of can't go out and we're more susceptible to it and all that. So.
Yeah. I fortunately I am still working, so I have some work that I'm doing.
Okay.
which is good. So I'm kind of connected to my teams yet and people, although it's very different than it was a couple weeks ago. I'm that has helped me. I'm becoming the king of comfort food, so I've been making a lot of comfort food and kind of sharing it with some people here in the building and knocking on their door and leaving them a dish or two. And
Oh, that's nice.
yeah, it feels good for me too. Whether my food's worth eating or not, I'm not sure. But so far, I haven't heard any complaints.
I don't know.
Yeah, right. So that's been helpful, and I've been trying to kind of get back to kind of my core, as we talked about before too. I started a little photo project here a couple of weeks ago out my window, trying to take a picture of either the sunset or the sunrise out of my building, and that's been really fun for me. And people kind of enjoy that, and so I've got a little routine going that kind of keeps me active and interested in a hobby that I have that I can share with other people.
Yeah.
So I'm doing okay. If this goes on a long time, we'll have to see. But I think I do have the ability to walk out my door and go for a beautiful walk along the lake and
Yeah.
self distance myself too, which is nice. So I think I'm doing okay. I'm fortunate. I think that my life experiences and feeling about myself the way I do right now is helping me a great deal.
Yeah. And it does. Yeah. And us single older
Right.
people, it's probably not much different. We have to be a little more creative because
Right.
we're active and we can't go out and do things and connect with people and go sit in the coffee shop and
Right.
do our work and blah blah blah. So that's a little challenging for me, but because I'm used to being alone, it's not a great stretch. But you have to be a little more creative. And I haven't gotten into the routine thing yet. I'm just kind of all over the place and whatever I feel like doing today. And I don't know. Which I'm fine. I'm not. Same thing as when pandemic or pandemic or not.
Right.
It's kind of the same, I think, for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad for other older people that are much more dire situations and they can't see their families, and oh my gosh, that's got to be terrifying.
Yeah. I have a cute little story to share with you that I hope as the pandemic winds down and we get back to our lives. I have a granddaughter that turned 7 on Sunday up in Mequon.
Yes, please share.
And they couldn't have a party for her. They were going to do it at one of the jungle gym places, and had to be canceled. And so instead of having a party, the neighborhood got together the night before and thought, well, what if we did a car parade in the neighborhood? Drove by her house, decorated our cars, and came by and wished her a happy birthday. So it was great. Sunday morning, I drove to Mequon, had shaving cream. It was the first time I ever vandalized my own car and wrote happy birthday on it. I'm sure my dad is rolling over in his grave, but there were 20 cars that lined up and decorated their car with, everything from, frozen standout cutouts and crepe paper, and
that's amazing.
And drove by her house and wished her a happy birthday. And it was really touching. I mean, I had tears in my eyes as a grandpa. And the thing that I took away from that was it was such a simple thing to do. And the parents had a great time. The kids had a great time. And I almost think that, I know for me, as a grandpa, I will remember this birthday for her far over anything else that I've ever witnessed. And it was such a simple thing to do. And the reason I bring it up now is that I think that, at least I'm thinking in my mind about doing things that are meaningful like that as we come out of this in a different way, that touch people probably a little more deeply than some of the things we've done before. And that was just a great example of that for me. It was really cool. And seeing a community come together, they live in a community up in Mequon, and they all came together via social media, which, sometimes it gets a negative hit, but in this case, it was really positive and brought people together to do something really good and meaningful. So it's really fun.
That's incredible. And that, like you say, that shows great sense of community and everybody working on it together, and the simple things, which certainly are more meaningful. No one needed to spend a whole ton of money on a big party and a big cake and
Right.
a big thing. And I think you're right. I think this, if there is a good side to all this, hopefully we will come out of this thinking that same way and being more mindful and being more, I'm kind of enjoying the slowness of it, because we are all
Right.
so fast paced and we don't take time to think about anything. We just move, 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 go, go, go. And
Right.
just even doing things around the house, I'm more mindful of my surroundings and how things smell and how things look outside my window. And I mean, I pay
Right.
attention to what's outside my window anyway, but now it's just like, there's more things that I'm noticing that maybe I didn't notice before,
Yeah.
because I didn't have time or my brain was all cluttered, or, like Juneau Tower is across the park. And now I'm noticing at night, almost every apartment has their lights on at night. It's like, I don't know, maybe that was the case before, but I'm just
Yeah.
noticing that now. And it's weird.
Right.
And now the last few days, there's been these 2 geese that are in the park. Were they there before? No, I don't know. They're just, every day they're there, and they're looking for food.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. We're more, it's an overused word, but we're more mindful, and
Yeah.
so hopefully a lot of people will adopt it. I'm sure that some won't do that at all. They'll go right back to their busy narcissistic lives and their selfish lives and
Yeah.
all that stuff. But it's an eye opener for sure, and it's kind of refreshing in a way. So your granddaughter's birthday party was a great example of how we all should probably be doing it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of the time.
And I think, you mentioned routines a little bit. My routines are pretty simple, but I'm also finding that I'm giving myself permission to do things a little differently.
Such as?
Which, well, if I
If you
want to
care to
crawl in, nothing too outlandish, but I want to crawl in bed at 8 o'clock with a book.
Oh, for sure.
For sure, right?
Yeah.
And there's no reason I couldn't do that before this, other than, some boundary that I put around myself that said, nope, we shouldn't do that.
Right.
So there's little things like that. I probably can't give you a better example, but, and part of that's just my thing too. But I'm finding too that, as I look at some of these artificial boundaries that I had around myself that I've kind of taken away now because I can't, it's like, oh, well, maybe that's okay. I do that all the time. And kind of going back to the simple things that we're doing. I think about that a lot too, in terms of, well, gosh, you grew up in a simpler time, Bob, to some extent.
Yes.
You did things a lot differently than you've done in the past few years. And is there a way to take some of those simpler things that you did, and once we come out of this, start to do them again?
Right.
And probably have a different impact and meaning now because of that. And that's been something I've been thinking a lot about.
And I wonder, that's a great point. And I wonder, Bob, if a younger generation, because you and I, like you said, we grew up a simpler time, and many generations are growing up with all this technology. And I wonder if the younger generation could handle that, could handle the simpler life. And I mean, technology is a wonderful thing. Like I said before, it's so helpful right now. But I wonder, how that will, if that will carry on when this all is kind of winding down, or if people will still, I don't know, will people have a hard time with that, do you think? I don't know.
I guess what I'm encouraged by is seeing social media and seeing some of the technology used for the betterment of us right now than what it had been before. I think there was always the promise that it would do good things, but some of it gets bashed a lot in terms of how it's used and what's put out there. And so I try not to take note of that. I try to take note of what people are doing to help one another today with it. And I'm hopeful that we can get to a point now where people see the benefit of doing it, not from a social distancing perspective as we move forward, but to use it as a way to bring people together. I'm thinking about community gardens and about people sewing together and quilting, and I mean, doing some stuff that was pretty basic in my family, when I grew up, that brought people together. Maybe it'll never happen, and maybe it's kind of a utopian dream on my part, but I'm starting to see people do things a little bit differently. People that are sewing masks and looking for, hey, have you got this supply? I had a friend yesterday whose daughter just got off a cruise ship where she was a performer, and she's home and she's quarantined, and they needed supplies. And, I had some rubber gloves that I'm not using. So, out to Brookfield, I went with them. And so I see it being used in positive ways now too, that maybe it hadn't been before. And so I'd like to think that we'll have some memory muscle to some of that and be able to use it, hopefully, in a ways that we can help one another.
Yeah, and those are all lovely comments that I'm sure a lot of people would agree with you on. And the outpouring of community, just even on Facebook, that's the only kind of social media that I'm on. Free yoga online, and say the getting together, or helping each other to get supplies for making masks, and whole bunch of other things in restaurants, making food and giving them to the needy for free, which is amazing. And I've seen some posts from some Facebook friends, and like this one woman is talking about her kid, and the kid says, "Oh, Mom, I just like hanging out with you," and blah blah. I'm like that's so amazing. So younger people hopefully are appreciating this time getting to spend, and I'm sure it's challenging. I don't have children, and so I can't imagine all of a sudden a house full of young kids and trying to cope with that and deal with everything else on top of this situation. But hopefully the younger kids will latch onto this awesome, simpler thing, and spending time with their family. And it's not such a bad thing to spend time with your family.
That's right.
I don't know, right?
Yeah. And I think about it too, as I continue to age, that, I've always been fairly comfortable with technology. I work in the field, but, I still have some limitations, but it's opening my eyes to things that I can be doing as I age that maybe weren't there prior to this. You mentioned, video yoga at home, right?
Yeah.
There may be a point in time where I'm probably not going to want to go out, or maybe I'm not. God only knows what's going to happen. But I think that I'm actually more encouraged about things now that I wasn't before, because as I age, if we get more used to doing some of these things in different ways, I think it'll make my life fuller as I get older, rather than take it away. Now, that's kind of a utopian thing as well, right? Because, we're going to have to stick to some of these things to make it work out.
Right.
But I am encouraged, and I'm encouraged at how people are looking at their businesses differently and how they might serve people differently. And I look at that and feel a little bit more optimistic about moving forward because of that.
Same.
If that makes any sense, right? It just feels a little different. We just have to make sure that we don't lose that feeling too easily after this is over. Right.
I totally agree. I was feeling a little, as probably the majority of people, feeling a little panicked in the beginning, a little frightened about. I don't know what. I think it's just, that someone said it's like a collective grief. I don't know.
Right.
But I don't feel. Isn't that a great way to look at it? I don't feel as nervous about it. I mean, I have my moments, but I'm hopeful as well. And I thought about this last week. Longer ago. I feel hopeful that things will change and people will be kinder and more compassionate, and people will be more creative, and how they maybe new businesses will spawn from this, and who knows? I mean, it's kind of we said this before. It's kind of open our eyes to taking things for granted. I don't know, perhaps, and we just need to stop where we are, and so many things are not important that were once important.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. For sure. Right. For sure. Yeah. That's right.
And like you say, as you get older, I mean, yeah, I kind of want to embrace all this stuff now and just
Yeah.
hang onto it and just move forward in a positive direction, because we're kind of all going in the same direction. So
Right.
why not look at it with open eyes and open hearts and that kind of thing? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I I have some friends who are not on any kind of social media, and have refused to do it for a lot of reasons. And I have one friend in particular who doesn't, and she's really struggling right now because she's alone
Oh,
and just kind of feels like she's really shut in. And I find that, for me, the technology, just doing this with you today, I've looked forward to it since we started, right? It's great to be able to do that. And, it is a great way to stay connected with people, and is something that, I don't FaceTime enough with my friends, and I need to do more of that.
yeah.
I have friends around the country that I can do that more with. And again, as I age and maybe don't want to jump in the car and drive 5 hours, this is a good way to do it and stay in touch. So
Yeah.
I hope that others will be less fearful of the technology, as this comes to head, and start to embrace it for the good things that it can do. And especially, I'm seeing now as I'm aging, that it's really important and can be used effectively and in a healthy way to help me. So
Yes, and yes, technology is good, and it's how you use the technology. If you're going to abuse
exactly.
all that, if you
Right.
use it in
Right.
the manner in which it should be used. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying not to be on Facebook so much anymore, because there's so many, to me, negative
Yeah.
articles, and plus it's just overwhelming to see all the statistics every day. So I'm
Right.
trying to now just check in maybe once in the morning and once, later on, and that's all I need to do. And there's some lovely like psychologists in town that have live videos, and authors that have Facebook lives on certain days, and that stuff is quite helpful. But I feel like I just need to just step back,
Right.
like a whole day, see how that goes, because it's I can't handle it. But and just even doing this, like these podcast, now this podcast, recording audio and a video, and FaceTiming and Zooming phone calls and that kind of thing, Zooming things. My producer will attest to this, that I'm just like, I'm so nervous. What if it doesn't work? I don't know how to do it. And she goes, you can do it. You can do it. And
You can do it.
I'm 65, and sometimes I think, the learning curve is a little bigger for us older people sometimes. I mean, it's not that I can't do it, but it's like, I don't know what there is to be afraid of. It's just, that's how I am.
Yep.
Here we are. But here we are.
Here we are. That's
Isn't
right.
it fun? It's fun, though.
It is fun. It's fun.
We should get on some Zoom chats, like maybe once a week or something. What do you think?
I think so. I'm good with that.
Touch.
That's right.
Because so much, Facebooking and stuff. It's great, but it gets impersonal and that kind of thing.
Well, you miss the intonation in people's voices. You miss seeing their facial expressions.
Yes.
Back to my granddaughter's birthday party, Channel 6 aired a little clip of it Sunday night.
Nice.
Which was really fun. There was a little video of it, and my son videotaped her watching it come on the news. And you would have missed that had he not had a little video clip, and you saw her expression and saw her light up when it happened. And so I think it's really important to video chat or do a Zoom or whatever with people that you really care about, especially now. But I think even as we go forward, there are some nights I want to see people, but I don't want to get out of my place. And if you can handle me in my pajamas, why not? Why not a little video chat, right?
We could have a pajama party.
There you go.
You get like 2 or 3 people and have a little. I saw someone the other day was doing like a slumber party kind of thing, and they were reading like a bedtime story, and then it lasted like a half hour, and then they all signed off. And how cute is that?
Yeah, it is cute. That's cute. Kind of a virtual book club. Yeah.
Right. Oh, there's so many opportunities for all of this to be great.
Yeah.
And I want to share with you my hairdresser, Nikki. Hi, Nikki. Don't look at my hair. she's teaching her mother, who I believe is 70 or 72, to use this kind of thing like Zoom or FaceTime. And she said, it's just the most wonderful thing. And she said, my heart is just full. So there we go back to the getting older thing.
Yeah.
You can teach an old dog new tricks, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a pretty great thing. And
it is.
I don't know. So let's, getting older, anybody who's listening who is my age or Robert's age, it's all going to be okay. Right, Robert?
It is. Exactly. It is. And, your film, when I went to the screening at the St. Kate's, it is such a positive thing, right? And it did propel me to think much more about where I am today and be grateful for it and take advantage of the things that I have. I mean, it was really an eye opener to me. And so I'm really grateful for that opportunity to see a screening here and have you introduce it. It was really fun. And so I'm anxious to see where you take all of this. And I'm glad that you're doing the continuing podcasts and, these video chats, because I think it's really important. And I've shared it a lot with a lot of people and they're really interested, because let's face it, we're all going to season gracefully into the next phase of our life here, right? So
we are indeed. And thank you so much for those nice words, and again for coming to the film. I appreciate it. And many people have said that it's an eye opener, and it kind of gave them permission to feel whatever way they were feeling, and it kind of gave a voice to it, I guess. It's not a topic that's talked about a lot. So right. I feel like I've been helping people with that in a positive way. Excuse me. And, everything is kind of on hold right now with the film. And we're planning on going on a promotional tour this summer. So we're kind of waiting to see. But we're doing, this is kind of an adjunct to the film, these podcasts, talking about aging and that kind of thing. And we're just talking about the next steps. So so stay tuned, everybody.
Cool. Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Well, and I'll throw my camera in the car and follow you around and do a little photo documentary of your on the road stuff.
Okay, I will bring that up to my producer and see how she feels about that. Yeah. I'll let you know as soon as we get the green light on, being able to go up our house.
I'd love to.
And we can't really plan anything. It's like,
no, I know.
The venues and stuff are like, they don't know either what's up.
Yeah.
So we'll play that one by ear, but
cool.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think we'll wrap it up here.
All right.
Thank you very much. We have my friend Bob here that's been chatting with me for about an hour, and I think it went well. I think we got some good convo going on here.
Yeah. Hey, it was great. I really enjoyed it, Tracey. Thank you so much. It was really flattered that you thought about me. So thank you.
Well, of course. Thank you for all your insight and everything. And stay healthy, stay sane, and stay home.
I will. We'll keep an eye. We'll just keep an eye out on Wells Street here from our windows and make sure we can be the Wells Street PIs. I feel a little bit like Jimmy Stewart in Rear Window, though, sometimes,
That's a great image. I like that. But yeah, keep those sunset and sunrise photos coming. They're beautiful.
I will. All right. Thanks, Tracey.
All right. We'll see you around. Thanks again, Bob.
Yep, you bet. Bye. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah.